Welcome to the Devil's Digest Peach Bowl preview as Arizona State gets set to head up to Atlanta to meet Texas in the quarterfinals of the college football playoff. As always, my name is Justin Lestertosa. That's publisher Hode Rubino. And Hode, before the Big 12 championship game, ASU head coach Kenny Dillingham said that ASU needs to play the game, not the occasion. And the Sun Devils, they certainly did that in that contest. But do you think it'll be a little more challenging in a game like this?
Yeah, I think that the mindset that they had to establish in that game in Arlington, which seems like not 3 weeks ago, but 3 decades ago, because so much has happened since then. I think that that mindset really definitely served them well, especially if fans remember the beginning of that game was definitely not smooth sailing for Arizona State and didn't look anything like the final score and ended up being, which was a lopsided victory for Arizona State. So I think having that experience in a postseason game, which is obviously several notches below playing in the Peach Bowl quarterfinals of the playoffs, playing an opponent in Texas, which is not only by far the strongest opponent Arizona State has faced to date, but definitely one of the best teams in the country. And some odds makers think that they're actually the favorite to win the national championship over teams like Oregon and Ohio State and Penn State. So I think that just having that previous mindset does definitely can help Arizona State. I feel that this is a Sun Devil team that's really been playing with house money, if you will, ever since they were able to win that sixth game, clinch bowl eligibility. We all know the story by now. A team that was picked last in a 16-team conference in the media preseason poll, and for them to do what they've been doing the entire month of November, playing 5 games, which is definitely not the traditional format, having some very tough opponents over there in Kansas State and BYU, teams that just missed being in the Big 12 championship game facing Arizona State. I think that we really learned a lot about this team that sure, you got the talent, but they also have the mindset that served them really, really well through that what should have been a really tough stretch games in November and a stretch that ended up winning 5 games in a row. And obviously the way they played in the Big 12 championship against Iowa State, it really shows me that this team's mindset has always been in the right place, especially in this 6-game winning streak. So I don't think anything should change, even though the stage is much bigger and the opponent, that is one heck of an opponent for sure.
Yeah, and Texas beat Clemson in the first round of the playoffs 38-24. And arguably the most impressive part is that those 38 points scored are not even the outliers, and that's very close to the Longhorn season average. And ASU's defense has been very good all year, but they're going to have their hands full in this contest.
Yeah, they absolutely will. You're looking at a team that does score on average just under 34 points, averaging 275 yards in the air, 173 yards on the ground. What I thought was interesting in that Clemson game is that the roles did really reverse, and as Texas did only pass for 175 yards, but rush for 292 yards. And talking to a Texas insider, and we already have that Know You Foe piece on our website, he said that coming into the season, everybody thought, everybody meaning the Texas beat writers, that this was going to be a Longhorn team that really was going to have an aerial laser show, if you will, each and every Saturday. And not that the ground attack was going to be tepid or anything like that, but definitely taking a backseat to the passing game. And really, what you've seen as the season went on, that more and more the actual rushing game was really coming to the forefront, and the passing game really just almost depended on the day on game day if quarterback Quinn Ewers was really going to be absolutely on his game, or was this passing game really going to be much less in the forefront and really just let a very stout defense, which we'll talk about in a few minutes, and a ground attack really carry the load. I think what's interesting, Justin, is that when I talk to Texas Insider or read or hear what other Texas beat writers have to say, it just seems that this Texas team, even though it has an immense level of talent, it just seems to be a team that doesn't operate as a machine as teams like Georgia, Ohio State, or Oregon. and it's always seems to be a squad that just shoots itself in the foot. Maybe not to the extent that they lose a lot of games, because after all, they only lost 2 games this year. But those two losses were to Georgia. Now, you can say on the one hand, there's no shame having all your only 2 losses of the year being to Georgia, and really, once you're in a 12-team playoff format, what you did in the regular season and even an SEC championship doesn't matter a whole lot if you can really play at a much higher level during the playoffs. But nonetheless, it's just a Texas team that if there's something that could go wrong, actually does go wrong for them. And I feel that for the most part, those mistakes, which maybe have not been in abundance, but when they do take place, they do take place more in the passing game. It seems like than the rushing game for Texas. So I'm really curious to see if Quinn Ewers is going to be the version that we saw against Clemson, which is the last game that the Longhorns play, or is going to be maybe the version that we saw against Michigan, where he absolutely looked like a fire first round pick in the NFL draft. And conversely, when you look at the rushing attack, is it going to be really a group that collectively can tinker with average with posting almost 300 yards, or is it really going to be a group that maybe is able to find issues against the Arizona State defense? Look, I mean, I know it might be weird to say that when you're facing a passing attack that averages 275 yards, and you still have a quarterback with Quinn Ewers that, even though he's been dealing with 2 different injuries all throughout the year, is definitely a very, very dangerous quarterback that ASU is going to face. And I think by far the best signal caller that this defense had to contend with all year long. I still think that maybe you take your chances with the passing game and make sure that that ground attack, which again exploded for 292 yards against Clemson, is not going to have anywhere close to a repeat performance. And if that's the case, maybe you do take your chances with Quinn Ewers, the quarterback, who again has been very inconsistent, and injuries have been part of it. I know that their best wide receiver, Isaiah Bond, looks like he may be back for this game, but he's been out for a while with an ankle injury. So I don't know if the ASU secondary is going to get the best version of Isaiah Bond. But even though the Sun Devil star nickelback Shamar Simmons, as we know, is going to be out for the first half, serving that targeting penalty that he did have in the Big 12 championship game against Iowa State, even though it might not seem the prudent approach to really commit maybe more players to the box and really take your chances with Texas's passing game. On the one hand, it really is pick your poison scenario for the ASU defense. But on the other hand, I just do feel that when you look at just the makeup of this Texas offense, you definitely want to make sure that they're not going to have a stellar day on the ground. And if they don't, I think the I think the ASU defense does give them a chance to really come away victorious in this game.
Yeah, when you look at the other side of the ball, this Texas defense is just as impressive. And ASU offensive coordinator Marcus Arroyo said they're excited about this matchup because this is a defense that ranks top 10 nationally in multiple statistical categories. Perhaps that'll force the Sun Devils to change their approach going into this game. What do you think that'll look like?
Yeah, I mean, you're right, Justin. When you look at the numbers, I mean, they're absolutely scary. Third nationally in total defense, 10th in rush defense, second in pass defense. So again, I don't mean to be repeating this term, pick your poison, but that's really what it comes down to when you're trying to devise a game plan on how to attack Texas on really either side of the ball. Look, on the one hand, it's no secret that this this ASU offense is going to go as far as running back Cam Scadaboo is going to take them, and obviously, it's going to be quite the challenge for Cam Scadaboo, for the offensive line, even for the wide receivers for that matter, to create those running lanes for the star running back for the Sun Devils. But I think that while you are going to go to your bread and butter and really try not to put too much on Cam Scadaboo, and it's really important for running backs like Hyson Brown and DeCarlos Brooks to also step up. And if only each of them is getting about 5-7 carries, really to maximize the effectiveness of each and every carry. I still think that it's going to come down to how much can Sam Levitt and the aerial attack for the Sun Devils really balance out the efforts of the ground attack, because I'm suspecting there are going to be many times where this ASU ground attack is definitely going to be hitting a brick wall in a very, very stout Texas rush defense. And this is where Sam Levitt and the aerial attack for the Sun Devils really has to step up. I'm not saying they need to light up the stat sheet with gaudy numbers, but when they're going to face a Texas defense, which I feel is going to be more than comfortable having their cornerbacks on an island against the ASU wide receivers, can you exploit those matchups? And maybe it's not always a reception. Maybe it's just really just drawing a pass interference penalty. That's really what's going to be the difference, I think, for this ASU offense in having a chance to win this game. It's really going to be quite a challenge. But I believe that offensive coordinator Marcus Arroyo is definitely one of those offensive coordinators that has been there, done that on the big stages. I'm not going to say he's going to reinvent the wheel, but I know that he feels he needs to at least show some wrinkles for this that Texas defense that they haven't seen in order to really have a chance of cracking what's going to be one heck of a unit for the Arizona State offense to crack. But I do feel that they do have the tools. I do feel that they're coming off a very good Big 12 championship offensive display. And even though, again, this caliber of defense for Texas is light years better than Iowa State, I still feel that this Arizona State offense does have some tools at its disposal, whether it's talent, whether it's scheme, to really be able to successfully combat a very, very strong Texas defense.
Yeah, and the challenges that Arizona State has to face in this game are pretty obvious, which is why they're a near 2 touchdown underdog coming into it. But this is also the same ASU team that has proved doubters wrong and surprised people time and time again this season. You think they have one more surprise in them when they go against Texas?
Yeah, I'll tell you, Justin, this team is a team that you really just cannot count out. Just the other day, I was looking at, the whole underdog aura that this ASU team has. And it looked okay. Let's talk underdog in the most simplistic terms, as far as, okay, how many times was ASU an underdog according to the odds makers in Vegas, and how did they do against against those teams? So in 6 of the games that they were underdogs, the only 2 games that they did come up short were the losses to Cincinnati and Texas Tech, both of them on the road. But in 4 of those games, they were able to defeat the odds. And I just feel that, ASU is a team that just loves to be counted out. And when we talked to the players a couple of days ago, they were just scratching their head, but also really being amused that, here we are winning a Big 12 championship game, and it's still not enough. And even though the playoff committee does rank ASU as number 4, they still took the time to also do a top 25, which obviously is meaningless when you already have the 12-team field. So in a 12-team field, guess who was actually ranked number 12 according to the committee? Of course, Arizona State. So I guess winning a Big 12 championship doesn't mean a whole lot these days, and that's something that I think should not only frustrate Arizona State, should frustrate the other 15 teams in the league. But that's probably a different story for a different day. So I think the pressure is on Texas. They're a team that, when the season kicked off, they were definitely one of the odds on favorite to win the national championship, and that did not change after the game against Clemson. But that win against Clemson, if anybody watching this feature watched that game, it was really the Texas team that I mentioned earlier that doesn't really operate always as a well-oiled machine, and just has one mistake after another after another. I mean, on offense, they only scored 10 points in the second half. They had 2 drives, which they ended up turning over the ball on downs. That's not a team that you expect, especially in their backyard in Austin, really playing that poor of a game in the second half. I think that is something that would bring concern for the Texas fans. And I think it's something that if you're an ASU fan, let alone an ASU team, can look at and say, okay, maybe there's some opportunities over here that really can be exploited. And you also look at that Clemson contest, Justin. it was a game where the Tigers really abandoned the run probably earlier than they should have. So I'm not saying that Texas never faced a running game like Arizona State playing in the SEC conference, but still, I think that Clemson didn't really show how great this Texas run defense can be because it really didn't try. And I think when you have an ASU team, which, as we all know, their calling card is a strong ground game, you wonder that maybe they can find some of those chinks in the armor for the Texas run defense. There may not be that many, but I do trust that the coaching staff can really exploit that. So I think again, this is an ASU team that you really can't count out, and they shocked the world, many times earlier this year. I think they have probably one more surprise in them. I think that Quinn Ewers and the difficulties that he has shown not only in the Clemson game but really throughout the year, I think that this ASU defense can come up with a game plan to really frustrating, that much more. And if they're going to put the onus on Ewers in the passing game, I think that's something that can really work in ASU's favor. And I think on the other side of the ball, that there can be more of a balanced attack than people think there can be. And even if Cam Scadaboo is not going to rack up impressive numbers as he's done so many times this year, I think this offense, with their approach and with their balanced game, can really do some damage in their own right. This is not going to be any laser show on the scoreboard or on the stat sheet, but I pick Arizona State to pull the upset and keep this dream season going along, beating the Longhorns 28-26.
Well, thank you, Hope, for all your insight. Our entire Devil's Digest crew will be in Atlanta to catch all the pregame, in-game, and post-game coverage. So to stay locked in on all the coverage, go to DevilsDigest.com. Follow Devil's Digest on Twitter at Devil's Digest. Thank you guys for watching, and happy New Year to all of you guys. We'll talk to you guys soon.